Sometimes earlier, Ra's al Ghul and Bruce Wayne had a sparring match underneath the Ghul Monastery. The mentor wanted for the hero to just quit, but the fire inside of the man keeps being persistent. Ra tries to discourage him by shaming him and saying Wayne's flaws, but he is curious about the gift. The mentor replies it is something he retained from one of many men he defeated, so he is giving it to the hero now because he calls him his legacy, the one true heir of his knowledge. After a long battle between Batman and the Help, the villain finally landed a critical blow using his cane. Unfortunately, one of Batman's technique is from a man named David from the Philippines, but the enemy knows very well how to counter-attack a very familiar move. Meanwhile, the pair uses this opportunity to escape from the back door as Nigma is desperate to escape or they will be deleted for sure. The Catwoman is just calm, having a hard time to escape while carrying a full-grown man, but Lady Luck is still on their side as she found a sweet ride from afar. 2 hours later, the truck she just stole is now clocked at 72 miles per hour. Her companion apologizes for he can't stay awake any longer as he attempts to guilt his partner. If she lets him die, she will never find the buyer of their item. But Selina on the other hand is somewhat careless of what the outcome may take place in their situation. Finally, the battle between them has come to an end, as the Help patronize Batman. After a few more years of painful and necessary mistakes, he might have a chance to beat him. Then he leaves his card if the hero wants to learn a much more efficient technique. He bids the Bat farewell as he lies unconscious on the floor. After that he inspects again the safe house, but no one is there anymore, as he now hears someone behind him opening the door. He asks who is it, as the stunned man introduces himself as the buyer. 730 years earlier, a boy named John Pratva carries a candle toward the altar, for he is helping the church with their ceremonies. His burden is his sister Clara has been sick for a month, as he now lost 3 sisters already. He begged a priest to bring the vessel to his house, which is 3 days of travel away. The item inside is actually the Eye of Christ taken from him after his soul ascended to heaven. It must remain on the church no matter what until the Lord himself returned to claim the said item. Unfortunately, the sister didn't make it as she now lies in her coffin lifeless, but the good brother doesn't leave at her side. She has been long gone 2 days while John places the vessel he took from the church on her chest, then walks away. 9 days after, the brother sits beside her grave and waits for his sister to rise. He remains seated there from the very first day as his dad is forced to carry him home, but he keeps on returning. They send a priest to try and talk to the boy before declaring him he has been possessed by the devil. Time passes, the stubborn boy will not eat, drink nor sleep, just waiting for her to rise. At 7:32 p.m., Batman enters the safe house still feeling light-headed from the battle. He just finds the buyer who is now lifeless, and then proceed on getting outside. On the doorway is a card from the man who beats him earlier, calling himself as the Help. Sometimes later, Catwoman is forcing a vet to fix her friend in need. Mr. Carey pleads to her to just drop him off in front of a hospital, but the woman is desperate. An hour earlier, Batman finally tracks down his Batmobile, but the rocket fuel has been ignited, so it is raging in flames and it will continue some time more. The Help decided to visit the Penguin in his ICU bed, giving him information about the details of what he had accomplished. He added, the money was also recovered and has been given to him, minus his standard fee of course. However, he will continue on pursuing these 2 villains with Batman outside the picture, only if he knew what everyone is chasing. After learning his vehicle has been destroyed, Batman goes to a nearby bar and steals a motorbike. But before leaving, he leaves an envelope containing $97,438, with a note that says thank you. On May 24, 1873, dozens of hired workers are digging on the ground looking for something. Then a man finally found something. It is a box beside some bone fragments and sliver of woods. Unfortunately, all the hired workers are immediately executed after that. It's actually Ra's al Ghul who had taken the box afterwards. 130 years later, Catwoman hangs around in the Big Cat Sanctuary located at west of Gotham. The tigers seem very affectionate to the cat villain while taking a long and hard look into the Eye of God. At 9:15 a.m., the tigers spotted an unfamiliar invader in their sanctuary. There are 23 tigers that are registered there, while Batman nervously calms the big predator in front of him. There's a reason they are kept in cages, as one cat aggressively attacks on the hero. 3 hours earlier, Batman is clocked on 127 miles per hour and dozens of messages poured in the sheriff's phone telling him Batman is here and he's on a bike. But the officer thinks it's only a joke and it's not even funny, he says. Later that day, a woman named Nuri meets Nigma at Cosmopolitan Waffles. She is actually the middleman between the transaction, now being told that the buyer didn't even show up at the safe house, and worst of all, he got shot yesterday. But the woman insists that she doesn't have the money and the buyer never left the house where he was told to go. The two continues to quarrel back and forth after that. An hour earlier before, the same woman was early at that same place looking for the manager. Then she gave an envelope with $25,000 in it, telling the confused man to clear all the people in the vicinity for the next 2 hours. It turns out, she's planning to fill the whole place with her team to try to blend in, just to capture Nigma before he arrives. That early morning, Batman is fighting a different type of opponent, which are big hungry tigers. The hero suspects that the loose captive animals are merely a diversion to try and delay him somehow. But the hero inside him tells him to not let these aggressive animals roam around the countryside, so he have to get them back to their cages first. Alfred in the comm tells him not to hurt the animals and Batman replies he's trying to do his best. Meanwhile, the help stops at a gas station, then is asking the counter if they have a local map of the area, for he is looking for a town called Englehart. But the irresponsible guy just tells him to just use a phone, and the man responds he doesn't carry one with him. An old-fashioned guy like this villain asks again for the map, but the guy keeps telling him to just get a phone. He is now at his limit dealing with the rude counter and then pulling out his weapon in front of him. Still arguing on who really has the money, the Riddler insists that he will not hand over the item unless he gets what he wants first. Surprisingly, he got slapped afterwards and the Riddler didn't take this well. He confessed that he knows the background of the lady in front of him and warns her not to touch him ever again. Earlier that day, Nigma is with the Catwoman lecturing her about the point of overcoming obstacles to prove one person's worth. The woman asks to whom they are demonstrating it to, and Nigma just responds it's a riddle we all have to solve that makes it an adventure. Back with the hero, he is now too exhausted dealing with these massive beasts, then came along a sword that attacks the aggressive cat. The villain explains it seems that he needed help, and explains to him that the sword has a strong anesthetic that makes the tiger falls into a deep sleep. With a bloody nose, Nigma tells a metaphor and asks why is the letter F like death, because without it, life is a lie. Then he threatens the woman that he will get rid of her, in which the whole team responds by pointing now all their weapons. The woman in front of him confidently smiles to his attempt. At the same time, the villain himself, the Penguin, is still recovering in his hospital bed. Knowing all the injustices that's been happening to him lately, from Riddler betraying him and stealing his treasure, also beating him half to death. And then yesterday the help he hired decided to betray him also by pursuing the treasure for himself. But this moment on, the Penguin finally screams. Earlier at 9:38 a.m., the two are talking while still in the middle among the tigers. The villain suggests that they have the same common enemies and a common goal of obtaining the item, so why not work together and then finally battle it out at the end to get the prize. He added that the Riddler and Catwoman working together is a difficult terrain for them to just handle alone. This makes the hero stops for a moment and then tells him they're taking his bike. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. See you on the next one.